Alright, so this video is going to be about solving some Pythagorean theorem word problems. A little harder to do these videos because there's so many different options out there for word problems, but it's okay. You're going to hear me say a lot, two things I would say. Number one, word problems should involve word answers. Number two, diagrams, pictures, whatever you want to call them, are very important. Okay? So, we'll get started. The length of Dylan's rectangular living room. So right away, I know that I have a rectangle. It's 12 feet, okay, by 20 feet. Oh, sorry. It's 12 feet, and the distance between opposite corners is 20. So I'm going to, see, sometimes even I go too fast. I'm going to erase that, and I'm going to put in here that the diagonal is 20. Okay, now it does say it's a rectangle, so that tells me that's a right angle. What is the width? So I'll call that the width. It's a rectangle, so you can go any kind of direction you want. So really what I have here is a right triangle where this is 12, this is W, okay, and this is 20. So I'm going to go ahead and start to label. Here's my right angle, so cross from that is the hypotenuse. Okay, and these are my two legs. And I shouldn't put H, I should call that C. So because we have two sides, we can do the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. My A is 12. My B, I'm going to go ahead and just call that W like it is. And my C is 20. Okay? So 12 squared is 144. 20 squared is 400. So I want to get to W by itself. And we're isolate the variable. So I can subtract the 144 from both sides. So I get W squared equals 256. Get rid of a square. I want to square root both sides. Okay. Now this is, if you didn't already, you can certainly use a calculator. The square root of 256 is 16. So that means W equals 16. That doesn't really answer the question though again, because it's a word problem. So what I actually want to say is and I'm just kind of rewording the question here, the width, the terrible W, of Dylan's living room is 16 feet. Okay? So that would be my final answer. I'm sorry that the writing is not always the best. Okay. Example number 2, the rectangle PQRS. So again, it's a rectangle. You tell me right away. All of those are right angles. Okay? Represents a floor of a room. Ivan stands at point A. Right there. Calculate the distance from Ivan from the corner of the room R. We want to know this. And the corner of the room S. Two unknowns. So when I have two unknowns, I'm going to look for one of the triangles where maybe I can have two knowns. And what I see is right away is this triangle, okay, where this is Q and this is R, and we call this I for Ivan. I know this is 2 and this is 4, and here's my right angle. So, label across from there, and there's a different color here, it has to be C, and then A and B are our legs. So, the Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 2. B is 4. C is what I'm missing. I just leave that as C. You could call it X or whatever. So this is 4 plus 16 equals C squared. 20 equals C squared. So I square root both sides. Square root of 20 is not going to be a nice number, but it is going to be a number nonetheless. So the square root of 20 is 4.5. Okay? So I would say, I'd start my answer as Ivan is 4.5, I believe it's meters, from corner R. And I don't know how far it is from corner S, right? But now, if I go back up here, I know this is 4.5. Okay? So now if I look at that other triangle, I'll try to scroll down a little bit here. If I look at, of course it jumped on me. If I look at this triangle, I know, here's my right angle. This is 4.5. This is 12. So this is what I want to find from Ivan to point S. Ivan. So, start to label. Crossing my right angle, my hypotenuse. Right? And then I have my legs. It's supposed to be A. So, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. The writing's getting really bad here, but so I'll put x squared plus 4.5 squared equals 12 squared. Now, most of you probably don't know what 4.5 squared is, so we go to our calculator. I'm going to go up here. A squared plus 20.25 squared equals 144. Oops, I didn't mean to square that. It's already squared. So if I subtract that from both sides, these cancel out. I get a squared equals 144 minus 20.25, 123.75. So if I square root both sides, I get 11.1. So I go back up here. Now I know Ivan is 4.5 meters from corner R and 11.1 meters from corner S. Okay. Sometimes you got to break down a problem. Okay. Just take a breath, think about what you know, think about what you don't know, go from there. The final example, two cars start from the same intersection. Draw a little picture here, same intersection, let's say. And actually, I know, I should probably move that up a little bit. Just a bit, move it up. One traveling southbound, so that would be this way, right, south. The other going eastbound, 10 miles an hour faster. After 2 hours, they are 10 square root 34. So this one's going to add a whole new challenge apart. How fast was each car traveling? Okay. So if one is going 10 miles an hour more per hour, 10 miles an hour more per hour. This speed is x. And this is going to be x plus 20, because over 2 hours it would have done 20 miles more. Now, this is one that I probably wouldn't expect you to do, but it's still good to see. So here's my right angle. This is my hypotenuse, these are my two legs. So when I set this up into a squared plus b squared equals c squared, my a is x, my b, and I'm going to put this in parentheses because the whole thing is x plus 20, and that's going to equal 10, and I'm going to put this in parentheses too, 34 squared. Now, this is just x squared. Okay, but when we look at this, we need to do something called FOIL. Okay? I'm going to write this way down here. This is actually x plus 20 times x plus 20. Now, you should have learned this in Algebra 1, whether you remember or not, I don't know. So I got to do first, the FOIL method. First, x times x is x squared. Outer, x times 20 is 20x. Inner, 20 times x is 20x. And last, 20 times 20 is 400. So when I combine my terms here, I'm going to get this. And so then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it back up there. Okay? Now, that's not all the fun that we get to have. When I do this, I use a different color here. When I do this, kind of distribute the squared. So what I do there is 10 squared is 100. The square root of 34 squared, just like square rooting, I did a square. Squaring, I've done the square root. So that's just 34. Okay? So as I go, and I'm going to erase this, and if you want to look at it, you can, because you can move on, but we get rid of some of this down here and smooth things out. I'm going to start combining like terms now. So this would be 2x squared plus 40x plus 400. This would be 3,400 when I multiply this. This is where it's really going to get to the point where you don't really probably remember how to do this, and that's okay. But what I can do is I can factor out a 2 out of all of these. So I'm just basically dividing them all by 2. And I get this. Okay. Now if I divide everything by 2 on both sides, these cancel out. Basically I'm left with x squared plus 20x plus 200 equals 1,700. I'm going to come back and erase the rest of this. So it's not confusing more than I already have. Now again, another thing that's weird. I got to factor this now. Okay, and actually before I factor, I can't solve an equation just normally because I have an x squared and I have an x. So I'm going to subtract this and everything equal to 0. And if I've lost you now, that's okay. Hopefully you got this set up. Now what I want to do is I want to work to factor this. And when I factor, I want two numbers that multiply to get this and add to get this. And I actually should have an x beside it. Okay. So those two numbers happen to be, let's see, 1,500. Oh boy. I think 30 and 50. One of them has to be negative. So the point is positive. It's going to factor into that because 50 times negative 30 is negative 1,500. 50 plus negative 30 is 20. So then my two answers, if I set each of these equal to 0, I would get x equals negative 50 and x equals 30. Scroll down a little bit more here if it's not writing correctly. Now, you can never have a negative distance, so that one's out. So my answer is x is 30. So that means one car, I don't know why this is writing so weird, is going 30 miles per hour. The other, and I really apologize for this, is going 50. I promise I'm writing neater than it's showing, 50 miles per hour. So, if that didn't make any sense, don't worry about it. Just a little kind of enrichment problem there. Hopefully that helps with the Pythagorean theorem word problems.